The Queen of Funk had survived 50 years in an industry designed to chew artists up and spit them out. She had survived the Black Panthers, 3 divorces, a well-documented battle with addiction, and an entire generation of artists who had built careers sampling her voice without permission. At 73 years old, Chaka Khan had nothing left to prove, and absolutely nothing left to lose. Which is exactly why what happened on Watch What Happens Live would become the most talked about moment in Bravo history. Andy Cohen, the man who had built an empire on messy questions and celebrity drama, was about to discover that some legends don't play games. Some legends don't plead the fifth. Some legends will look you dead in the eye and tell you exactly who the hell they are. And then they will walk out of your clubhouse and leave you sitting there wondering what just happened. Before we dive into this incredible confrontation, make sure you subscribe and drop a comment below, because this is the moment the Queen of Funk reminded everyone why she earned that crown. The Bravo clubhouse was buzzing with an unusual energy that Thursday night. The production crew had been told to expect something special. Chaka Khan didn't do late-night television anymore. She didn't need to. She had 10 Grammys, a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, and a career that had influenced everyone from Whitney Houston to Beyoncé. But here she was, settling into the guest seat across from Andy Cohen. "Welcome to the clubhouse, Miss Chaka Khan," Andy announced with his trademark enthusiasm. The small studio audience applauded enthusiastically. "The Queen of Funk is here, people. I have been wanting to get you on this show for years." Chaka smiled, but it was the smile of a woman who had seen through men like Andy Cohen her entire career. "I've been watching you, Andy. I know what you do on this show. You get people drunk and make them say things they regret." Andy laughed, delighted by her directness. "That's the whole point. Speaking of which, can we get Miss Khan a drink? What are you having tonight?" "I'll have water," Chaka said flatly. "I've been sober for years. But don't let that stop you from doing whatever it is you do." The first crack appeared in Andy's carefully constructed facade. A sober guest was harder to manipulate, harder to push into those viral moments he craved. But Andy Cohen hadn't built his empire by backing down from challenges. "Well, let's talk about your incredible career," Andy began, settling into his chair. 50 years in the music industry. The Queen's tour with Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, and Stephanie Mills was apparently incredible. And now you have a new album coming out, your first since 2002. "Echoes of my journey," Chaka confirmed, her voice carrying that distinctive rasp that had made her famous. 23 years between albums. I had to make sure I had something worth saying." 23 years is a long time," Andy observed, and there was something in his tone that made Chaka's eyes narrow slightly. "A lot has changed in the music industry. Do you feel like you're still relevant in today's landscape?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. The studio audience shifted uncomfortably. Even the production crew behind the cameras exchanged glances. Andy Cohen had just asked the Queen of Funk if she was still relevant. Chaka's response was immediate and devastating. "Relevant? Baby, I was relevant before you were born. I'll be relevant long after this little show of yours gets canceled. The question isn't whether I'm relevant. The question is whether the music industry has enough taste left to recognize greatness when it sees it." Andy's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. He wasn't used to guests who pushed back this hard, this fast. Most celebrities came on Watch What Happens Live prepared to play along, to laugh at his messy questions and participate in his drinking games. Chaka Khan clearly had not received that memo. "Fair enough," Andy said, trying to regain control of the conversation. "Let's play a little game. You know how this works. It's called Plead the Fifth. I ask you 3 questions. You have to answer at least 2 of them honestly, or you can plead the 5th on one. Ready?" Chaka leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms over her chest. "I don't plead the 5th on anything. I say what I mean and I mean what I say. Ask your questions." Andy's eyes lit up. This was exactly what he wanted. A guest who wouldn't back down meant better television, more viral clips, more attention for his show. "All right, question 1. You've been very vocal about your feelings on Kanye West sampling Through the Fire for his song Through the Wire. You said it made you sound like a chipmunk. If Kanye called you tomorrow and apologized, would you forgive him? Chaka laughed, but there was no warmth in it. Forgive him? For what? For taking my voice and speeding it up like I was some cartoon character? For making money off my artistry without even having the decency to ask properly? That man has bigger problems than me right now. He needs to worry about forgiving himself before he worries about me forgiving him. So that's a no on the forgiveness, Andy said, clearly pleased with the response. Question 2. Whitney Houston famously covered your song I'm Every Woman for the Bodyguard soundtrack. It became one of the biggest hits of the 90s. Be honest. Does it bother you that her version is more famous than your original? The temperature in the clubhouse seemed to drop several degrees. Chaka's expression shifted from guarded amusement to something much more dangerous. Andy, let me tell you something about Whitney Houston. Her voice was lower now, more serious. That girl came to me when she was 14 years old. Her mama Sissy used to sing background for me. I watched that child grow up. I knew her talent before the rest of the world did. So when you ask me if it bothers me that her version is more famous, you're asking the wrong question. She leaned forward, her eyes locked on Andy's face. What bothers me is when people like you try to create drama where there isn't any. Whitney and I performed that song together. We loved each other. She put my name in the song as a tribute, and now she's gone, and I'm sitting here with you trying to manufacture some kind of rivalry that never existed. That's what bothers me. Andy shifted in his seat, suddenly uncomfortable. This wasn't going the way he had planned. Chaka Khan wasn't playing the game. She was rewriting the rules. I didn't mean to suggest there was a rivalry, Andy backpedaled quickly. I was just curious about your feelings on the cover. My feelings? Chaka's voice rose slightly. My feelings are that Whitney Houston was one of the greatest voices of her generation. My feelings are that she deserved better than the way this industry treated her. My feelings are that I'm tired of people like you asking questions designed to make black women tear each other down for entertainment. The studio audience was completely silent now. Even the camera operators seemed frozen in place. This was not the fun, messy celebrity interview that Watch What Happens Live was known for. This was something else entirely. Andy tried to recover. Okay, moving on to question 3. You famously said that Mary J. Blige, quote, messed up your song, Sweet Thing. You even said her vocals were flat. Do you stand by those comments? Chaka's laugh was sharp and short. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You want me to say something bad about another black woman so you can clip it and put it on social media. So people can talk about Chaka Khan being messy. That's your whole game, isn't it? I'm just asking about comments you've already made publicly, Andy protested, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. Yes, I said those things, and Mary and I talked about it. We're fine. We're sisters. We can be honest with each other and still love each other. That's something you probably don't understand, because you make your living off of women tearing each other apart. Andy's face flushed. That's not fair. I've built relationships with a lot of the women who appear on Bravo shows. Built relationships? Chaka's voice was incredulous. You've built a franchise on getting women drunk and encouraging them to fight each other on camera. You've made millions of dollars watching black women and white women scream at each other across dinner tables. Don't talk to me about relationships. The accusation landed like a bomb. The studio audience audibly gasped. Andy Cohen, for perhaps the first time in his career on Watch What Happens Live, looked genuinely rattled. I think that's an unfair characterization of what we do here, Andy said, his voice tightening. The Real Housewives franchise celebrates strong women. Celebrates? Chaka's laugh was bitter now. You celebrate the drama. You celebrate the fights. You give the loudest, messiest women the most screen time because that's what gets ratings. Don't pretend it's anything more noble than that. Andy set down his wine glass, his playful demeanor completely gone. Look, Chaka, I invited you on this show to celebrate your career, to talk about your new album, to have a fun conversation. If you're not interested in participating in the spirit of the show, I'm not sure why you agreed to come on. I came on because your people promised me we'd talk about my music, Chaka fired back. Instead, you've spent the entire time trying to get me to say something controversial about other artists. You've asked me about Kanye, about Whitney, about Mary. When were you going to ask me about my actual work? We were getting to that, Andy said, but even he didn't sound convinced. No, you weren't, because my actual work isn't messy enough for your show. 50 years in this industry, 10 Grammys, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And you want to know if I'm jealous of Whitney Houston? That's what you think is interesting about my life? Andy tried to regroup. Okay, let's talk about the new album then. Echoes of My Journey. Tell us about it. But Chaka wasn't ready to move on. No, I want to stay on this topic for a minute, because this is important. You have a platform, Andy. Millions of people watch this show. And you use that platform to stir up drama and conflict instead of celebrating artistry. You use it to make women look foolish instead of lifting them up. That's really not what this show is about, Andy protested weakly. Then what is it about? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you get off on watching people embarrass themselves. You ask questions designed to make people uncomfortable, you serve them alcohol to lower their inhibitions, and then you act surprised when they say something they regret. She gestured around the clubhouse set. This whole setup is designed to make people forget they're on television. The couches, the drinks, the casual atmosphere. It's a trap. And I've been in this business long enough to recognize a trap when I see one. Andy was silent for a moment, clearly trying to figure out how to salvage the interview. When he spoke again, his voice had a harder edge to it. You know, Chaka, I've had hundreds of guests on this show. Musicians, actors, politicians. And most of them managed to have a good time without accusing me of running some kind of exploitation scheme. Most of them don't have 50 years of experience watching this industry chew people up, Chaka replied. Most of them are still trying to get famous, still trying to please people like you. I don't need to please anyone anymore. I've already done everything I needed to do. Then why come on the show at all? Andy challenged. Because I wanted to see if the man behind the cameras was different from the man I've seen on television. I wanted to give you a chance, and you've shown me exactly who you are. And who am I, according to you? Chaka looked at him for a long moment before answering. You're a man who's built his career on other people's drama. You're a producer who knows exactly what buttons to push to get a reaction. And you're someone who doesn't understand the difference between entertainment and exploitation. Andy's jaw tightened. I think you're being incredibly unfair. I've championed so many artists on this show. I've given platforms to people who might not otherwise get mainstream attention. You've given platforms to people who are willing to perform for you, Chaka corrected. There's a difference. The minute someone refuses to play your game, refuses to give you the drama you want, you don't know what to do with them. She stood up from the couch, straightening her caftan with deliberate precision. Like right now. You don't know what to do with me because I'm not giving you what you want. I'm not drunk. I'm not saying something I'll regret. I'm not fighting with anyone. And that scares you. I'm not scared, Andy said, but his voice betrayed him. You should be. Because more and more people are waking up to what you're doing. They're starting to see that reality television isn't reality at all. It's manipulation dressed up as entertainment. And one day, people are going to look back at this era and wonder how we let it happen. She started walking toward the exit, and the cameras scrambled to follow her. Andy jumped to his feet, clearly panicking about losing control of his own show. The production crew behind the cameras exchanged frantic looks. In 17 years of Watch What Happens Live, no guest had ever walked out mid-show. This was uncharted territory. Chaka, wait. We still have 15 minutes left in the show. We haven't even talked about the Queen's tour or your new single. Chaka paused and turned back to face him. You had 30 minutes to talk about those things. You chose to spend them trying to get me to badmouth other artists. That was your choice. This is mine. The audience wants to hear about your music, Andy tried desperately. Then you should have asked me about my music. Instead, you asked me about drama from decades ago. You asked me about feuds that don't exist. You asked me if I'm still relevant, like 50 years of work means nothing. She looked directly into the camera, addressing the audience at home. To everyone watching, I want you to understand something. This is how the game works. They invite you on these shows and promise you'll get to promote your work. Then they spend the whole time asking about controversy because controversy gets clicks. They don't care about the art. They care about the drama. She turned back to Andy one final time. You know what the difference is between you and me, Andy? I've spent my entire career creating things. Music, art, something that will last. You've spent yours tearing things down, stirring up conflict, profiting off of other people's pain. And maybe that's worked for you so far. But one day, you're going to look back at your legacy and wonder if it was worth it. With that, Chaka Khan walked off the set of Watch What Happens Live, leaving Andy Cohen standing alone in his clubhouse, his wine glass still in hand, his audience sitting in stunned silence. The show limped through its remaining minutes, with Andy awkwardly filling time and making jokes that no one laughed at. The damage was done. Chaka Khan had done something no guest had ever done on Watch What Happens Live. She had taken control of the narrative and left on her own terms. In the days that followed, the clip went viral. Chaka Khan destroys Andy Cohen on his own show, trended for a week. Think pieces were written about the ethics of reality television and whether the era of exploitative entertainment was finally coming to an end. Media critics who had long been skeptical of Bravo's approach finally had a powerful moment to point to. A legend had called out the game on live television, and millions of people had watched it happen. The response from the music community was overwhelming and unanimous. Patti LaBelle posted a simple message. That's my sister. She's been speaking truth since 1973. The Queen of Funk doesn't bow to anyone, and she never will. Gladys Knight added, the Queen of Funk reminded everyone tonight why she's the queen. Some crowns can never be taken. Chaka has always stood for what's right, even when it cost her. Tonight was no different. Stephanie Mills, who had toured with Chaka on the Queen's tour, posted, this is the Chaka I know, the one who stands up, the one who speaks truth, the one who refuses to play games that diminish who we are. Proud to call her my sister. Mary J. Blige, the artist Chaka had been asked to criticize, posted something even more powerful. This woman helped pave the way for all of us. She told me the truth about my singing when I needed to hear it, and I became better because of it. That's what real mentorship looks like. Tonight she showed the world what real integrity looks like. I love you, Chaka, forever and always. Even younger artists weighed in. Beyoncé, who Chaka had notably declined to criticize during her infamous Rolling Stone rant, posted a simple tribute. A photo of herself as a child meeting Chaka Khan backstage at a concert, with the caption, "The Blueprint. Thank you for always showing us how it's done." The music industry, for once, spoke with one voice. And that voice said, Chaka Khan is untouchable. As for Andy Cohen, he would return to his show the following night as if nothing had happened. He made a brief joke about fiery guests and moved on to safer territory with a reality television star who was more than happy to play along with his games. But something had changed. The questions he asked seemed a little less pointed. The games he played seemed a little less predatory. The audience noticed. The critics noticed. Perhaps for just a moment, the Queen of Funk had made him look in the mirror. And perhaps for just a moment, he hadn't liked what he saw. Chaka Khan would go on to complete her tour, release her album to critical acclaim, and continue doing exactly what she had always done. Making music on her own terms, answering to no one, and refusing to be reduced to a punchline on someone else's show. At 73, she had nothing left to prove and everything left to protect. Her legacy, her dignity, her crown. Some queens, it turns out, are forever. What did you think about this explosive confrontation? Did Chaka Khan go too far? Or did Andy Cohen finally meet his match? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more incredible stories that will absolutely blow your mind.